There is no business that I've ever seen where you can not have a crazy amount of upfront costs and generate a very good cash flow. And I compare this to businesses like you want to open a pizza place, if you want to open a restaurant. Let's say I opened a restaurant today. I live in Las Vegas. That could be 300-400K just to get in the door. This is an industry where technically you could get an insurance license and you can knock on doors technically and receive a commission if you found somebody that was like, hey, I'm willing to buy insurance. Andrew Taylor here. For those of you that I have not met, I have worked with FFL for going on 10 years, and I started selling insurance when I was 18 years old. And my previous career was bagging groceries. I'm excited to talk to you guys today because, one, I never imagined I would be here. And there's been a lot of times that I wanted to quit this industry, and a lot of times that I was thinking about not hiring in this industry because it was really tough for me. So I'm excited to share, as wherever you are in your business, some of the things that I did and I overcame, and hopefully you guys can learn from some of my mistakes. It's an honor to work with all these people at FFL. We're literally working with legends in the industry, and a lot of you guys are in these downlines, whether it's Mark Mead or Trey Honeycutt or Zach Twardowski, or the list goes on and on and on and on of people that I'm just honored to be working with and working side by side with, and good people that you can always count on them doing the right thing with you, and when it comes to helping your business. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this. So we have all these guys, and these guys are in your downlines. And it's easy to become friends with somebody or get to know them, and then you stop extracting information from them. So people always say, like, if you get too familiar with people, then you kind of forget how much you can learn from them. So as you're working with these people who have accomplished a lot in the industry, the first thing I want to talk about is you making sure every day to remember that they've gone through some of the challenges that you're going to go through. And instead of going, hey, how's your day? Going, hey, how's your day? What'd you do when somebody said this to you? What'd you do when an agent quit? How'd you minimize the risk of roll up with an agent? How'd you overcome this? So first thing is, make sure to write down. Don't get too comfortable where you stop learning from people who have accomplished what you want to accomplish. And I have to remind myself every day when I'm working with people to remember that. All right. So the first thing, the biggest number one objection that people get, I think, when somebody gets hired is they go, I don't want to recruit right away. I want to sell. And then I want to recruit later. It's either that or it's, I'm going to wait until I do XYZ before I start building. And XYZ could be, I'm going to wait until I have my knee surgery before I start. I'm going to wait until I move before I start. I'm going to wait until, I think pretty much everybody has things going on in their lives that you can fill in the blank with. So I'm gonna wait until I get in better shape, and then I'm gonna go all in. So the reason I want to bring this up is because something I used to do that all the time. I'd go, I'm going to apply these things when I do this. I'm not ready yet. And what I realized is this year is going to go by regardless. And either you're going to be in the same situation at the end of this year, or you can go, whatever's going on in your life that's holding you back right now, you can go, I'm just going to, overcome that. And in the next year, you can, there's so much that you can accomplish. And I've had to do that because I've constantly made excuses. And then I realized this stuff is going to happen regardless. So I might as well go all in and make the best of it. Now, when somebody's hiring, what I've understood, the reason why they don't want to hire right away is because they want to make sure it works. And what I've learned is that by telling people transparently what this business is all about, it makes recruiting a lot easier. When I got started, I always think, could you imagine if the guy who started in the industry that is no longer here never told me about it? Like, he's no longer in the industry. He only lasted a few months. If he never introduced me to the industry because he wanted to figure it out first. I always think, could you imagine if that happened? Now, what I learned, and something funny is, this is super interesting. This is super interesting. I wanted to do this because it was hard. So I was working at the grocery store. Actually, this lady always had me take her groceries out to her car. She had a Mercedes. She said her husband sold insurance when I asked her, and you're not allowed to take tips at Stater Brothers, but she would always just put money in my apron. And I went home, and then a few days later, randomly, somebody called me and goes, hey, do you want to look at selling insurance? And then I asked somebody, I had asked my stepdad what he thought about selling insurance. And he said, it's really, really hard. And the people that work really hard will do well. And the people that don't work hard are probably not going to make any money. And so I actually wanted something that was hard, that would let me stand out from everyone else if I showed how hard I was going to work. So let's talk about introducing this business to somebody. You're brand new. You're scared to talk to people about it. I want to give you guys some tips on how you can do that, because it could be the Uber driver. It could be your cousin. It could be, who knows, where this business can change their lives. So if you tell people how hard it is and what they have to overcome, but what they can potentially gain, then you never have any risk of anybody judging you on doing something where you're like, oh, you said that was easy and I got into it and it was hard. So when you're sharing it, you go, look, it's super hard. This is the potential. You can do it part-time. You can do it full-time. Then it's a lot easier to talk to it about everybody. What I never liked doing was going, hey, this is super easy. Anybody can do it. You're super sharp. You could probably do that. I never liked doing that. I liked finding the people that wanted something hard. Now, what I found, and this was something that was taught to me early on, was that the day you hire your first agent, you give up the right of being average and ordinary that day. Why is that? because now you have somebody looking up to you. So the day I hired the first agent that I had, all of a sudden, I started working harder, which was huge. I call this strategy lighting a fire in the basement. Sometimes I need to light a fire in my own basement so that I would get to work and get more serious. Now, something interesting happened when I hired somebody. They started to do better than me because they were naturally better than me. And it forced me to work harder because I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. Now, for people thinking, well, let me give you guys my opinion on this as we're talking about hiring. There is no business that I've ever seen where you can not have a crazy amount of upfront costs and generate a very good cash flow. And I compare this to businesses like you want to open a pizza place, if you want to open a restaurant. Let's say I opened a restaurant today. I live in Las Vegas. That could be $300,000-$400,000 just to get in the door. This is an industry where technically you could get an insurance license and you can knock on doors technically and receive a commission if you found somebody that was like, hey, I'm willing to buy insurance. So I'm big on hiring. I'm big on telling everybody a transparent overview of this industry. So the next thing is, if let's say I introduce somebody to this industry, how do I actually get them to make their first sale quickly? Now, what I learned is the most motivating thing for anybody is to see them get paid. Like, all of a sudden, if somebody can see they can get paid and it's real, then imagine how motivated they're going to be the next day to do it again. So if I'm going to work with somebody, and I'm going to give you guys some of the word tracks. I'm a very simple person. I'm not very complicated. And my hiring process goes, to decide if I want to work with someone to be an independent contractor with us, which means that I would spend my time helping them. My word track goes like this. I go, hey, I can tell you anything and it doesn't mean it's true. And you can tell me anything and it doesn't mean it's true. So you can say you're the best, you're Augmandino, you're the best salesperson ever. It doesn't mean you are. There's only one thing that we can there's only one thing that will decide if this is going to be a good business relationship or not. And that's in the first 2 weeks, we're going to find out if we both do what we say we're going to do. So in the first 2 weeks, we're going to work together. My goal is to help you make a sale fast, because let's be honest, most people are getting in this to make money. And it's better to do it fast rather than slow. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a roadmap that's going to have a lot of activity. And the goal is you're going to get punched in the face by calling these leads. And people are going to tell you no. You're going to learn a bunch. You're going to learn about objections. You're going to learn all this stuff. But what we're going to learn is, am I going to be here to help you? Or are you, and am I going to be here to help you? And are you going to do what you say you're going to do? Because I'm just looking for the person that says, if they say, I will call 500 people the first week, I'm just looking for the person that actually does that. And I go, if you're that person, then we're going to know this is a good fit. But what I don't want to happen, let's say the person's name is Frank. What I don't want to happen, Frank, is I don't want this to be like a 6 month long thing to figure out if you like it. And then we both wasted our time for 6 months. I want to find out in 2 weeks and try to get you a sale in the first 2 weeks and find out if me and you are going to work together well in the first 2 weeks. How does that sound to you, Frank? That sounds great. Now, this is day one. If they have their insurance license, day one, I'm getting them leads. And recently, what we've been doing, which I'll share with you, is once a month, all of the new agents in our base shop, we're bringing them in to do a lock-in in the office, which is where we all dial together, learn together, train together. And we just recently did our first one, and it was crazy, but somebody said this to me. They go, hey, because I was dialing with everybody, and I said I was like back to school. It was like going back to school, like Billy Madison, the movie, because I hadn't dialed in a while. But people picked up the phone. I did what I used to do. I reminded myself that I'm here to help them. And, one day their kids or grandkids or someone's going to call me and thank me for helping them with insurance. So I called them 4 or 5 times in a row, got yelled at a few times, but immediately people were like, hey, come on over or let's do this. And it was awesome. But what somebody said to me is they go, we actually like you getting hung up on in front of us. So we know that happens to everybody more than somebody just showing how good they are. And I was like, man, these lock-ins are super powerful. So my strategy right now, just to share with you guys, is to continue to do lock-ins with new agents where they come in and for 2 days, we're dialing all day and they're making their first sales and answering questions and meeting people and being part of a team. But the next phase of this goal is to duplicate the process where we can build up other people in a leadership position to be able to host their own, so that once a month we could have multiple different places in the country within our base shop. So a good goal that I was thinking to me would be like, could you imagine if you could get 100 lock-ins per month, what that could do for your team? The team building exercises you can do, the culture you can build, the family dynamic you can build by doing this, and also getting people paid fast, which will be the most motivating thing that you'll find for a new agent. All right, so the next thing, this is literally the number one thing I learned and did as I was building an agency and selling. Okay. So I think we live in a weird world right now where we get a lot of information. And I think I'm pretty sure that negative information travels faster than positive information. And every few weeks I delete Instagram and Facebook and everything. And I delete it for a few weeks just to be detoxed from some of the information that comes in. That's just me. But what I found out is you can change somebody's day, week, or situation by sharing good news with them. And I want to share this story with you guys on why. As a new agent, I got hung up on a bunch of times. And it was like a Tuesday afternoon, and I decided to turn on Netflix, and I had some hot Cheetos out. I was younger, so I wouldn't gain any weight. I pretty much could eat whatever I wanted. And I think I was watching Vampire Diaries, like this is like 10 years ago. And somebody called me and they said, I just made a sale and I helped everybody in the house. and they were so excited. And I literally turned off the TV and I put the chips away. I picked up the phone. I started calling people and corrected my week that I was literally accepting a 0 for the week before this, and went out there and was able to help families. And it made a huge difference in probably my career, because all these things are compounding over time. Like, these bad decisions compound, and it's like, whoa, I didn't make it. Or the good ones compound. It's like, whoa, how the heck did I end up here? It's amazing that I ended up here. So what I started to do is I would call people, and I do believe it's important to sell for this reason. One, it's good for you. Two, you're helping people. Three, it helps your cash flow in your business. And four, you can share what you're doing. So all the way up until a few years ago, I would constantly, and this is, you can ask Trey Honeycutt because I work close with him. I would be annoying every time I made a sale, sharing with everybody that I made a sale. And if I was going to go, if I wanted to help people kind of get out of this average, you know, just this normal way of thinking where it's like, if I'm in a bad situation and it's the last 2 weeks of the year, if I'm in a bad situation, people kind of make you think like the whole world shuts down. And so what I did is I'm like, you know what? I'm doing well, but I want to show other people that you can work on Sundays, you can work in the evenings, you can create your own world of whatever works for you. But I wanted to show that the last few weeks of the year, that people could go and they don't have to go more into debt. They don't have to, and I'm talking about new people that are here to try to change their lives. So what I did is I put this sweater on. It was a pug. It was an ugly pug, which they're like kind of cute, but they're ugly. The dogs with the smashed faces. It was a Christmas sweater that said Pugly Christmas sweater. So what I would do is I would take pictures with me working with my sweater on, and I'm sharing it to all the agents that I'm hiring. Now, why did I do that? Because I wanted people to know that you can actually make a difference anytime. Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, doesn't matter the time of the year, the time of the day. If you want to go out there and help people, you can, and you can change your life. Now, we had an amazing record month, breaking records while the whole world was shutting down. And we were doing it smart, where it's not like we weren't enjoying our families and enjoying our lives. We were just being creative on, hey, you know, if 2 days before Christmas, or if we dial, Saturday morning, we started dialing Saturday mornings. And I'm sharing with people how awesome this is, because people are in I convinced myself that Friday nights is when I didn't want to dial, and Saturday and Sunday I didn't want to dial. I convinced myself that Friday nights, a lot of people were drinking, so it was easy to book appointments. They were in good moods. Saturday mornings, people were super happy with their families at home making pancakes. So I'm dialing in and I'm sharing with everybody how awesome this is. Sundays, I got yelled at, and I almost never wanted to call on Sundays, but I started to tell people, this is so important for your family that they have me working on Sunday. So I'm missing out on something with my family, but I'll make it quick. I'm calling to set up another time to talk. I convinced myself of these things, but instead of just convincing myself, I wanted to share the news to convince other people. So share the news to convince other people. All right, next. So you can never give out too much good news. just to rewind a little bit, and it can change somebody's life because they can go just a little bit further. They can fight a little bit harder until they get that breakthrough that they need, that's going to get them to the next level. All right, lastly, we're in business, okay? Sometimes business sucks. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes you spend 2 years with a customer and they decide, you spend 2 hours with the customer, they feed you, give you tacos, invite you over to a family barbecue, and then the next day they cancel on you. And it's like, yo, what, like, am I okay? Like, what? Sometimes I'm like, am I going crazy? I'm literally thinking that I'm nuts with some of these situations. You hire an agent. Maybe they don't do the right thing all the time. Maybe you invest a lot of time in them and they let you down. Whatever it is, okay? And I learned that I always would tell this joke. This is something else that I sold myself on. I was always like, when something bad happens to me, I just spin it and turn it into something good. Now, what can come good from something bad? Some of these bad situations. The biggest chargeback I ever got was $27,000. I spent this, and it was off of an annuity. I saw them 13 times to close the deal. And then Jackie from AAA talked them into canceling it. And I had already spent the $27,000 by the time I got the chargeback. Like, I spent it before it even hit my account early on in business. And I was literally like, it was bothering me so bad because it was such a letdown at that time in my life, that I was losing sleep. Like, I literally was staying up. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I hope Jackie from AAA, I hope they end up not liking her and they come back to work with me. Now, what ended up happening is that helped me so much because no other chargeback scared me anymore. So then when somebody would call me and they would want to cancel a policy that's $1,000 or $1,500, then instead of being nervous and reacting kind of, because there's two ways you can react. You can react confident, no big deal, or you can react nervous, like this is going to hurt me. You can come off as, it's kind of, please don't cancel because it's for me. And what it did is it helped me save hundreds of policies in the future because I was no longer scared of chargebacks. And when somebody would call me, I would go, hey, Tom, no problem. I'm just going to go over a form with you to cancel it. And I can get that taken care of for you. And when I would go over this form with them, I would discover why they were canceling it and sometimes be able to place them in a new policy, or sometimes I would be able to save the policy. And I don't know the exact numbers. I'm guessing this is just off of what I felt. I felt about half of the time I would save the policy. Now do that over, years and years and years and years of going and seeing people, and then think about how much money you can make. The form, actually, it's funny. Someone just asked, what's the form look like? I never actually had a form. So when I got to the customer's house, I would write on a blank sheet of paper, or if I was doing it on Zoom, I would write on a blank sheet of paper. I would put, I need you to sign this. And it says, I understand that I'm canceling this policy and it will not protect my family in the event of something happening. And I'm releasing liability, I just made it up. And then I would literally would go sign this. And then sometimes they'd be like, well, I don't know if I want to sign that, based off the way I put it. But when bad things happen, let's say the top person on my team wanted to leave. It could be bad, or I can learn why. And if I can learn why, then not only can I correct that in the future, but I can also retain that person working with me. So anytime something bad happens, instead of getting frustrated, because I know how easy it is to be frustrated and it can ruin your whole day if you get a chargeback or if an agent quits, or trust me, you will be tested. My buddy said every level there's a new devil. So you think it goes away, but it doesn't. It just gets bigger. So share good news, turn bad things into good things, and then understand that everybody has a different learning curve. So my learning curve was slow. So we did the math. I have every calendar of every year that I ran appointments. We did the math. The beginning of me, and this relates to hiring as well, but the beginning of me running appointments, I was very timid. People would hang up on me or slam the door in my face. And over time, and I'm talking about a lot of time, I ended up running over 10,000 appointments. So you can imagine the things I've seen, literally almost everything. Everything you can imagine that could happen in someone's house, I've probably seen. Or every situation I've probably seen out of these 10,000 appointments. But by the time, like my 5th year or my 6th year of doing this, I had back-end commissions coming in. I had renewals coming in. So my situation was easier automatically. But then I had seen so many people that my confidence and my skill level went up, and I didn't even know it went up. So, like, I think we're smarter than we think we are, or we give ourselves credit for, because reflecting on this, like, I was reading people's body language, the tone of their voice, all of these things. And it wasn't because I was smart. It was just because I had done it so many times. So by the end, I was talking to people going, I would show up to, I would show up to an appointment, or I would call you and I would say, hey, Betty. They go, yeah. I go, I'm your new insurance agent. I'm calling to set up an appointment to see if we could put you in a better situation. You filled out this form. It says your date of birth is, 8/5/1962. Now, that I'm your new insurance agent is pretty bold and confident. And I came a long way from the very beginning when I would call people and go, hello, Mrs. Smith. And then they would hang up on me. The reason I'm telling you guys that is because everybody goes through the same stuff, the same period of struggle. And the people that are fighting through those situations and doing the right thing and making the right decisions over time, we've seen where they've all made it, and it's amazing. But the same thing applies to hiring. As you are working with people, recruiting people, the more you do it, the better you get. I only wanted to talk to people that made less money than me when I started, and I worked at the grocery store making $8 an hour. So you can imagine the people I was recruiting and expecting they were going to do well, when it wasn't super likely. It's not impossible, but I wasn't going to go talk to a doctor or a lawyer or somebody that I felt was doing better than me or smarter than me. Now, the more I did it, the better I got, the more angles I knew how to take, the more I learned to learn about them and give them what they want. So think about all of these situations as you're learning. You're going to get better. You're going to be able to read people that are wasting your time. You're going to be able to read people that are going to manipulate you and take advantage of your time. and make you feel bad maybe for something, their lack of work ethic. You're going to learn to avoid certain things and continue to get better, and then get to the point that I've been lucky enough to get to, which is having amazing people that you work with that are like family. Relationships are extremely important in life, but people that will be there for you when things are not going good, people that are going to help you get to the next level, and you start to build an awesome life with that around you. And then obviously making the money you want to make is just a byproduct of that, and not the best part. I wouldn't say the money's the best part. I would say the agency you can build, the people you work with will end up, and the people that you can help will end up being the best part. So thank you guys for having me on. Zach, thanks for running this every week, and thanks for everybody involved. Appreciate you guys.